Good morning. It's 9 a.m., and so at this time I call to order the Douglas County Board of Commissioners meeting for July 20th, 2022. Four commissioners are in chambers, and we have Commissioner Tarkanian joining us on Zoom. Thank you for chiming in there, Mr. Tarkanian. So,
yes, thank you.
At this time, I would ask you to all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Vice Chairman Wes Rice.
If you'll join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
So I appreciate everybody being able to come out this morning at 9 a.m. versus 10, our normal time. At this time, public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker unless additional time is granted by the board chairperson. The Board of Commissioners uses timing lights to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to speak. You will see a green light when you begin, and then a yellow light, which indicates that you have 30 seconds left and should conclude your comments. Once the light turns red, we ask you to please sit down. In addition to opening public comment will also be taken on administrative agenda items that are identified for possible action and at the end of the meeting for closing public comment. I want to indicate, please, those here in chambers to please silence your electronic devices. When you approach the podium, please print your name for the record and then also state your name. Item number 2 on the administrative agenda is an item for presentation only. So if we will not be taking public comment during that presentation. So if you wish to make public comment on that particular item, you'll need to do so during the opening public comment or the closing public comment item. I do want to inform the public that we have experienced some electronic issues this morning with Zoom, the Zoom platform. So we do have it currently operating, but in case all of a sudden we lose you, you'll know why and what's happened. So we will continue with the meeting at that time, however. So at this time, we'll entertain public comment. Is there any public comment that anybody wishes to offer here in chambers? Ms. Thompson.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bobby Thompson, Director of the Great Minden Tahoe Airport. I just had a few updates for you. One has to do with the American Century Golf Tournament, which we were the host airport for, as you know. We had just under 1,200 operations over the 5-day period. So we were very happy that we had a temporary tower so that all those operations could come in and out of the airport in a safe manner, which they did. And I'm very happy to report we did not have one noise complaint the entire time, even with that great increase in traffic. The temporary tower worked very well. The controllers that we had were actually folks that had previously been controllers for a couple of decades at Chicago O'Hare. So I'm sure they think we're just like that. Also, in a report this morning on the Business Council meeting, we're happy to hear that the tournament itself was quite a success. They had a 17% increase in viewership on television, and they said they had 67,000 people on the course over the weekend. So what a great event for our community. And we're glad to do our part to support that. Also on Airport Road, it is mostly complete at this point. They did painting yesterday. We do have to walk through and do the punch list, which there will be a couple items on that. And we have requested that there's also a flood test, which is simply where they put water on it to see if there's any existing low spots. So those are kind of the last couple of things to get done. Well, that and paying the bills. Got to pay the bills, right? And then we're also happy to report that the Perlin 2 aircraft, which is that pressurized glider, the only one in the world that's based here in Minden, is headed now to Oshkosh, to the biggest air show in the world. It's going to fly there and be on display there and do some demonstrations. And of course, Airbus is the sponsor of that particular aircraft. That's the one that's already gone over 76,000 feet in a glider. And it is also, they've announced too that they're installing an engine in it, and they're going to start doing tests with hydrogen fuel, which is something completely new that Airbus is interested in. And those tests are going to be conducted right here, of course, with the approval and coordination with Eastwork. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional public comments here in chambers? Yes. Hang on a minute. We still have public.
Good morning. I'm here to discuss very quickly Ordinance 2022-1604. I'm a 30-year resident of Johnson Lane and your former fire captain, investigator, and inspector. After reviewing the county draft of the 2019 mitigation strategy, it's very clear to me that the citizens of Douglas County are very concerned about fire, flood, earthquake, and severe weather. And there's a number of items in your mitigation plan in Section 8 in the table that identify things that the county should be doing to help protect structures and buildings in the event of fire. So I would encourage you to think long and hard before you revoke the sprinkler system ordinance that you've already developed. And I would ask you to turn down that ordinance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have an additional public comment here in chambers? Seeing none, Ms. Blosser, do we have, Ms. Elgis, pardon.
Melissa Elgis, for the record, yes, we do have one individual for opening public comment. Mr. Gibson, can you hear me?
Gotcha. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, folks. Good morning, Douglas County. Good morning, commissioners. Jason Garrett with the Planet Art Network this morning. Today is Gregorian Wednesday, they say, July the 20th, they say at 9:09 mechanical time. We're calling with an invite to invite you folks up for the Peace Through Culture Day Out of Time this weekend. That's at Base Camp, Hard Rock Cafe, South Shore, Tahoe. And what this is, it's a day out of time. It's no day at all. It's a day that we get off the clock. It's Peace Through Culture. It's a time to celebrate time-based art. And that's what this is. And it's a byproduct of the 13 Moon Calendar Change Peace Initiative that was established by Doctors Jose and Luidine Arguelles in 1987 with the first globalized meditation or synchronized global meditation that was called the harmonic convergence. That was the precursor to the world of 13 Moon Calendar Change Peace movement. Peace Through Culture is the fundamental premise of the 13 Moon 28-day calendar. When you celebrate time as art, you're promoting peace through culture. If you go to any time-based art celebration, you'll see a banner of peace. That's the symbol of the banner or the symbol of the Rorich Peace Pact, and the banner that signifies the unity of art, science, and spirituality. The fruit of the Day Out of Time is now a 21-day time-based art festival that Jose and Luidine established in Portland, Oregon from 1996 to 2000. And that peaked out with a presentation and a celebration where the mayor of Portland, Vera Katz, and the chief of police both acknowledged the Calendar Change Peace Initiative and accepted the banner of peace. And from that point, the Portland Institute for Contemporary Arts picked up the torch, and they've been promoting time-based art for 22 years. This is a social citywide experiment. It's the most progressive, most positive thing that we can be doing with ourselves in the face of global world war. So come on up. We've got 3 days for you. That'll be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And We've kept the actual day out of time available for the Country Boys on the 25th in case they want to do something. We're there to support country music, and it's going to be Ken 61, 62, and 63. So thanks for your ear.
Thank you. Ms. Elgis, is there any other public comment online?
There is no further public comment online.
Thank you. We'll bring it back to the board then. Mr. Commissioner Ingalls, you had something?
In light of what we've been seeing about foreign entities buying property in the United States, and apparently there's even been some things here, it's time for Douglas County to pass an ordinance that any foreign entities are not allowed or are forbidden to buy agricultural property, mineral rights, or water rights. And whether this will work legally or not, it's time we've got to start making that effort. So you'll see that coming up. Thank you.
Very good. So public comment is now closed, and we'll go to the approval of the agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Rice, seconded by Commissioner Nolasad to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. We'll now go to the approval of the previous minutes for possible action to discussion to approve the draft minutes of the June 16, 2022 regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. I understand that in our supplemental package, if I'm not mistaken, there has been some corrections that were made. So anyways, I will entertain a motion at this time to approve the previous minutes as amended, as corrected. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the previous minutes as corrected.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Rice, seconded by Commissioner Ingalls to approve the draft minutes of June 16, 2022 regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners as corrected. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. We will now go into the consent calendar. Items appearing on the consent calendar are items that can be adopted with one motion unless an item is pulled by a commissioner or a member of the public. Members of the public were given the opportunity to do so during the public comment and did not do so, so there will not be any items that have been pulled from the consent calendar by the public. Is there any commissioner that wishes to pull an item? Sensing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented, items A through U.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent calendar as presented, items A through U.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Rice, seconded by Commissioner Ingalls to approve the consent calendar as presented, items A through U. Since no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. Moving right along. Administrative agenda. The chairperson will read the agenda item title into the public record and will have the discretion to determine how the item will be presented. Agenda items may be considered ahead of or after the schedule indicated on this agenda. Public comment will be taken on items that are identified for possible action. And the only one that we have on the agenda today for possible action is item number 3. So at this time, then, we'll go into item 1 for presentation only, ceremonial presentation of an employee service award to Justin Davis for 15 continuous years of service to the Douglas County, I believe, Sheriff's Department. So being presented by Captain Coons. Is that correct? Okay, so I'll join you at the podium and the officer here, so. Thank you. So anyways, today we're recognizing, I believe it is Officer Justin Davis, in appreciation for 15 continuous years of dedicated service to the County of Douglas on March 2nd, 2022. Well, we're a little bit behind here, aren't we? So anyways, Justin, we really appreciate the family makes as well in the performance of your daily duties. So at this time, I would ask Captain Coons, I take it Justin is one of your patrol officers?
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, you probably would be handing this off to one of the other captains. But anyways, I'm proud to present this to you, and then you can, and Justin, and if Captain Coons, if you'd like to say a few words, and then we'll listen to Justin if he wishes to. Okay, very good.
So my name is Rick Kuntz. I'm the captain in the patrol division of the
Here,
Sheriff's
you want
Office.
to come over here?
Yes, sir. Sorry. Hi, good morning. My name is Rick Kuntz. I'm the patrol captain for the Sheriff's Office. And Deputy J.T. Davis, this is a big day, 15 years. And I know it was a month or so ago, but 15 years, it's quite an accomplishment. I have some things that I'd like to say about J.T. I would say that J.T. and I have a unique relationship, as I was his jail training officer 15 years ago in the jail. So from that day, I knew he was special. He is a loyal employee. He's hardworking. He's a good man. He's a family man. And he represents this agency and this community in the highest regard. So I will say this, in presenting him with 15 years, I want to thank him for all he's done. Thank the family. Thank the wife, you betcha, and those beautiful children. And, you know, I know this community and everyone's grateful for your service and all you do. And it seems like a week doesn't go by where I'm in the community and everyone and people will come up to me and say, hey, is JT working today? Is JT working today? And that's a tribute to him and how he treats people. So with that, here's to 15 years and hopefully 15 more. Congratulations, sir. All right.
Thank you. You have something to say?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief. I got kind of two families to thank here. So first off, the sheriff and undersheriff couldn't be here today, but I want to thank them. I could not work for two better bosses. I've been with both Sheriff Coverly and Undersheriff Helgas for almost my entire career when they were both sergeants, and they exemplify leadership, and I just want to thank them for everything that they've done for me in the department and the community. So on top of that, it's pretty fitting, like Captain Kuhn said, we've been together kind of since the beginning, and I just want to thank you for your leadership and also your friendship too. You've been a good friend to me, you've guided me, you've supported me, and you've always had my back, and I appreciate it. To my family, my mom and dad, thanks for everything you've done for me growing up, instilling, hard work and work ethic and service in me. And then to my wife, Haley, being a wife of a cop is not easy. And she's bared through it with the call-outs for SWAT call-outs, corner call-outs, changing shifts, all that stuff like that. So I just want to thank you, babe. I appreciate it. And then these are my three daughters, Olivia, Savannah, and Stevie. So they just, they're along for the ride, but they've taught me what unconditional love is. So I just want to thank the community. I'm proud to serve this community, and I look forward to hopefully another 15 years. So thank you.
Did you want to get a picture? I guess there. We need to find him a 15-year pin, right, somewhere. I think we have those. Yep. Okay. So. Okay, we'll go. And once again, thank you very much. Anyways, there are times when congratulations and claps are certainly in order, and this is certainly an occasion when we want to do that. So anyways. Item number 2 is for presentation only. Introduce ordinance 2022-1604, an ordinance to amend Title 20, Appendix B of the Consolidated Development Code by revising Section 901.8 of the International Building Code, IBC, as well as Table 903.2.2 of the International Fire Code, IFC, and Section 903.2.4 of the IFC. The proposed changes are designed to eliminate the automatic fire sprinkler requirement for all single-family residential structures under 5,000 square feet outside the Tahoe Douglas Fire Protection District. And this is being presented by our Community Development Manager, Tom Dallaire.
Thank you, Chairman Gardner. Tom Dallaire for the record. Per NRS 244-100, we only had to read this into the record, and so you've done that, and this does change the fire sprinkler requirements from our current code to 5,000 square foot residential structures, and those that are less would not be required to have fire sprinklers installed. So anything over that in a residential, and it's really the roof area that we look at, and anything over that would require fire sprinklers, and that's the revisions that are being made or proposed.
Thank you. I'll now ask commissioners if they have any questions, concerns for Mr. Dallaire in this regard.
One other county in this area that does have the sprinkler requirement, is that correct?
Yes, Commissioner Rice, that's correct. It's Story County.
Have been approved for building over the next 30, 40 years. Is that number is a round number, right? But as I understand it, those 5,800 homes are in planned developments that would have the necessary fire hydrant and other infrastructure available. So basically, those 5,800 would not even be affected by this change. Is that a fair assumption?
Thank you, Commissioner Gardner. Tom Dallaire for the record. There are a number of subdivisions that come in to be reviewed as a subdivision, which then creates a project. They end up being project allocations that are out in Fish Springs. There's 3 or 4 developments out there that are a project because it was a subdivision. So there will be a few of those 5,800 that will not have fire sprinklers or fire hydrants available, but they're for the most part, yes, most of those 5,800 do have fire hydrants available.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted a clarification on that. So we're talking very few that are actually going to be affected. And I believe also the remaining homes in the Clear Creek development are required by that HOA or that development agreement. Is that correct?
All houses up there to be sprinklered.
Thank you. Okay, this is a presentation-only item, so we will not be taking public comment on that. If there's no additional questions by the commissioners, we can move to the next item on the agenda. I guess that's where we are on this one, right? So this will come back to us, I believe, on August 4th for the second reading and possible action. Okay, thank you. Item number 3 is a appeal by Mr. Llewellyn, I take it. Is Mr. Llewellyn by any chance here in chambers now? So and is Mr. Llewellyn online by any chance? We don't say it, okay. And we indicated that we would not hear this item until 10 o'clock to allow him time to get here under the normal circumstances. So anyways, we can go to item number 4 right now then for presentation only, reports, updates from county commissioner members concerning the various boards and or commissions that they may be a member of or a liaison to, or meeting functions they have attended I expect that this, as usual, is very short. So Commissioner Tarkanian, do you have anything to share with us this morning in that regard?
No, don't.
Okay. Commissioner Noasad? Commissioner Ingles? Commissioner Rice?
Oh, we can't let that go.
No, I know. You always have something.
Yes, and number one, I want to let everybody know that both you and I will be leaving you this afternoon, me tomorrow for Aurora, Colorado for the annual NACO, National Association of Counties meeting. We will be able to interface with other rural counties from throughout the United States to discuss similar problems and how they resolve those, and hopefully bring that information home to roost. On another note, this afternoon, and there's no joking here, the Douglas County Lake Tahoe Sewer Authority is celebrating their 50th year. And we are celebrating that with a barbecue at the sewer facilities. So, no jokes. That's what I have.
Well, I guess we assign the proper person to that board. Just I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. Okay. Okay. With that, and I have nothing to report other than what you already reported in regards to our visit to the National Association of Counties. So with that, that concludes item number 4, and so item number 3 is scheduled for 10 a.m. So I guess, according to staff, our legal counsel, we have to take a recess for a half hour. Is that correct? Oh, I don't think we can do closing public comment until we're ready to close. Okay. Okay, so at this time then we'll take a break and we will convene back into session at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Okay, it is, my clock is saying that it's 10 o'clock, so we're going to call back into session the 2020, July 20th, 2022 Board of County Commissioners meeting, and go to item number 3. I believe I'm informed that Mr. Llewellyn is present in chambers. Is that correct? Okay, thank you. So you're prepared to proceed. Okay, so item number 3 for possible action, discussion on the appeal filed by Mr. Gil Llewellyn, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, of game time basketball camps pursuant to Douglas County Code Section 13.04.100 of the denial of a permit to use the Kale Community Center to conduct a children's basketball camp on July 25th through the 28th, 2022, issued by Douglas County Community Services and Parks and Recreations Director, Director Scott Morgan. And I see that Mr. Tarkanian has rejoined just as well. So anyways, Mr. Morgan, you may proceed.
Commissioner Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I should say. I need to make a statement before.
You need to what?
Make a statement.
In advance of Scott's presentation?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, please.
I need to disclose that Gil has, and I can't pronounce his last name, I apologize, but Gil has rented out our facility in Las Vegas, the Tarkanian Basketball Academy, for many years now. And I haven't had much of a relationship with him because I haven't done the day-to-day work there, but he has had a relationship with me to supervise our facility. I don't believe it'll interfere with my judgment and don't feel I need to recuse myself, but again, that's up to the district attorney.
Okay. So you need direction out of Deputy District Attorney Doug Ritchie as to whether or not you should recuse yourself. Mr. Ritchie, do you want to address that?
Thank you, Chairman. Doug Ritchie with the Douglas County District Attorney's Office. Under the ethics rules, Commissioner Tarkanian did the right thing. He disclosed a potential relationship. There's no requirement to abstain from participating in the voting if, as Commissioner Tarkanian has indicated, there's no reason that a reasonable person would believe that he would be biased either for or against the appellant in this matter.
Thank you. I hope that clarifies, Mr. Tarkanian, Commissioner Tarkanian, your position. The other question I had was this item that's noticed on the agenda. Do I need to read that into the record as well?
Thank you, Doug Ritchie with the Douglas County District Attorney's Office. No, the title is above, and you read that into the record. The notice was just to let everyone know that we would potentially be talking about Mr. Llewellyn's conduct and character. I think he's received notice of that, as well as to inform the public that it would be for a time certain.
Thank you. With that, Mr. Morgan, you may proceed.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Scott Morgan, Community Services Director for Douglas County. On March 18, 2022, Gil Llewellyn of Game Time Basketball Camps submitted a permit application to rent the Kale Community Center in State Line, Nevada to conduct a commercial children's basketball camp starting on July 25th and running through July 28, 2022. Mr. Llewellyn has been charging $215 for early registration to $245 for the 4-day basketball camp. He also had half-day and full-day rates available to those who wish to participate. He has approximately 53 youth enrolled with a waiting list. The camp was offered to boys and girls ages 6 through 18. Mr. Llewellyn had previously conducted basketball camps at this facility. On June 10, 2022, Mr. Llewellyn paid the facility rental fees of $1,600 for the 4-day rental. These fees have fully been refunded. On June 16, 2022, I received an email from a parent of a prospective attendee of Mr. Llewellyn's basketball camp. Included in the email was a forwarded copy of an email sent by Mr. Llewellyn on June 16th at 2:38 a.m. in the morning, with the subject line, "Help, Amber Heard abuse that was exposed. My story needs to be told in hopes of seeing my son." The email was sent to all prospective children basketball camp attendees at the Kale Community Center, along with 2,000 other contacts of Mr. Llewellyn. Mr. Llewellyn included a lengthy narrative with photos and personal information regarding a third-party individual identified as Carrie Scans that Mr. Llewellyn claims to have had an extramarital affair with and conceived a child. Mr. Llewellyn characterized his email as an exposed, detailing his alleged efforts to have a relationship with a child that Mr. Llewellyn claims to have been improperly obstructed by Mrs. Scans. Mr. Llewellyn's email included personal contact information for Mrs. Scans and encouraged email recipients/players to have good thoughts, kind words, suggestions, and even material support of any and all kinds. Mr. Llewellyn encouraged email recipients to directly contact Mrs. Scans and or her sister to encourage her to do the right thing. After reviewing the email, I had several concerns about the content of the email and believed it was inappropriate for Mr. Llewellyn to interact with children and their families in this manner related to a children's basketball camp to be conducted on Douglas County property. I contacted the concerned parent, who reiterated his concerns and stated he would be removing their child out of the basketball camp. I contacted Mr. Llewellyn to confirm that he intentionally had sent the email to all prospective enrollees of the July 25th through the 28th, 2022 Douglas County camp, along with 2,000 other email contacts. Mr. Llewellyn confirmed that it was not a mistake and that he indeed deliberately and intentionally sent out the email. I contacted Mrs. Scans, who confirmed that she did not authorize Mr. Llewellyn to discuss her identity, contact information, or personal details included in the email. Mrs. Scans further advised me that she was fearful for her personal safety because of Mr. Llewellyn's email. After internal discussions, I informed Mr. Llewellyn via voicemail on June 22, 2022, that his application for use of the Kale Community Center and Gymnasium starting on July 25, 2022 to conduct a children's basketball camp is denied. On June 28th, I had a phone conversation with Mr. Llewellyn regarding the facility use application denial. I informed Mr. Llewellyn that his application is denied pursuant to Chapter 13.04 of the Douglas County Code. Specifically, his application is denied based upon his misrepresentation of the nature of his prospective use of the Kale facility and concerns about public safety, welfare, and possible unlawful conduct arising from the email he sent to campers and their families at 2:38 a.m. on June 16, 2022. I informed Mr. Llewellyn that his permitted prospective use does not permit him to assemble an email list of campers obtained in part by advertising the use of Douglas County facilities and send mass emails to campers and their families detailing intimate personal grievance against a third-party individual, which he encouraged others to contact and arguably harass the third party in possible violation of the law. I informed him that his conduct is far outside the scope of his proposed use of the Kale facility, and Douglas County did not agree to be associated with his personal dispute. I informed him his conduct has raised concern about public safety and welfare and possible unlawful conduct, including potential inappropriate interactions between himself and children attending the basketball camp, who should have no part in his personal dispute. During the phone conversation, Mr. Llewellyn was informed about his appeal opportunity. Regarding my decision, Mr. Llewellyn asked for me to write my determination and outline his appeal process of the permit denial in accordance with Douglas County Code Section 13.04.100. On June 29, 2022, I emailed Mr. Llewellyn outlining the basis of my determination and Mr. Llewellyn's appeal procedure. On June 30th, 2022, Mr. Llewellyn emailed indicating his intent to appeal my decision. Mr. Llewellyn has provided additional backup information contained in your packet for your review. I have reviewed that information and see nothing that Mr. Llewellyn has provided that would cause me to reconsider my determination. I am available for any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. This is an action item, so Commissioners, Commissioner Tarkanian, any questions that you have for Mr. Morgan?
Not at this point. I was going to wait till Mr. Llewellyn spoke.
Yeah, we'll give him that opportunity as well. Commissioner Nosad, anything to ask at this time? Commissioner Ingles?
Is this a criminal matter or a civil matter?
Chairman, if I may. Doug Ritchie with the Douglas County District Attorney's Office. To clarify, when you ask this matter that's before the board, it's not really a civil or criminal matter. It's an administrative appeal. As far as the underlying issue between Mr. Llewellyn and, I'm sorry, I forgot her name. Yeah, between the lady, that if a protective order has been issued, it could be civil. Violation would be a criminal matter, though. But again, for purposes of this hearing, it's neither civil nor criminal. It's an administrative appeal.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarification, Mr. Ritchie. Commissioner Rice, anything to add at this time?
Not at this time.
I don't have any other questions either. So at this time, we should provide the opportunity for Mr. Llewellyn to state his side of the story, I suppose. Is that correct, Mr. Ritchie? Yeah, okay.
All right, thank you for the opportunity. I want to start by I submitted.
So, Mr. Llewellyn, if and I don't like I don't like to interrupt. We do need you to sign your name in for the record and also state your name for the record, please.
Okay,
Okay.
I signed, and it's Gil Llewellyn.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, proceed.
All right.
Proceed.
So as regards to the, let's see here. I requested an amending of the four possible action notice considerations as follows, and I think this is very key, from my perspective at least, and that is, I want it noted by the board and all concerned that I specifically was not consulted. The issues I raised in my formal appeal were not included in the agenda for possible action. And an overall embracive and just and.
Can I interject? If he speaks down and not into the, I can't hear anything.
Yes, sir. I'll go lower. Okay.
Speak into the mic, not down to the base.
Okay. I knew this would be interesting. Okay. So therefore, as it is currently written, it is adversely prejudicial to myself, Mr. Llewellyn. Therefore, I am proposing, and at the very least will include in the agenda materials the following amendments in bold. And in bold, Furthermore, consideration and discussion of what, if any, exact federal, state, county, or local law or ordinance was broken or violated by Mr. Llewellyn in the writing and the distribution of his email of June 16, 2022 at 2:38 a.m. What exact constitutional rights are part of the First Amendment as relates to the freedom of speech did Mr. Llewellyn over-exercise, quote unquote, or was in violation of? Is Mr. Scott Morgan's Douglas County Community Services Director and one parent's opinion, a Mr. Randall McClure, out of more than 2,000 the email was sent to, including over 100 local parents. This Randall McClure is a parent whom I spoke to and who also spoke to Mr. Morgan and urged him to presume such characterization of the email and invoking some kind of violence or threat narrative as a cause to cancel the camp. Was this characterization actually in congruence with the actual verbatim words, theme, and intent of the email, and even remotely close to the consensus of all parents who are eagerly awaiting this camp and are texting me daily or have attended other camps? Has there been an abuse of power or ulterior motive or unnamed person or entity influencing Mr. Scott Morgan in his attempt to unilaterally cancel the basketball camp, thereby denying the parents concerned of their right to make their own decisions regarding their own children attending the scheduled basketball camp of July 25th to 28th this year, 2022, at the Cale Community Center? Was there an abuse of power or attempts to intimidate or discourage Mr. Llewellyn from exercising his right of appeal or not informing him of such rights to begin with, which I was not informed of until I demanded it by Mr. Morgan? Aren't the benefits of such a basketball camp and life enhancement experience, as can be seen by many testimonials and recommendations, and will be seen by various character references and daily texts from parents about their anticipation of the immediately upcoming camp, far greater than an adverse opinion about how Mr. Llewellyn has exercised his freedom of speech in accordance with existing laws and constitutional protections, and where a long-term proven track record of exemplary service can also be seen. So why am I here? If it was just one parent that wanted a refund and didn't like what I wrote, fair enough. Thank you for your opinion. I refunded you. So why am I here? Why am I making the 8-hour trip to come up here a couple of days in advance, having to figure out other potential facility arrangements at the cost of thousands of dollars, because I want to satisfy the needs of at least 100 parents and at least 65 and growing local kids. By the way, since that email, my mouth is dry for one, so I'm kind of sorry, and we're in high altitude. But since that email, I've conducted 7 basketball camps already for kids as young as 4 as the principal supervising coach. Okay, and you've got a lot of things in the packet which will cover that. So why am I here? I am only here, the only reason I'm here is to protect the rights of children. Okay, and that's what that email was all about, even though I named a specific individual with no intention to harass by any means, but to foster greater love, peace, and understanding, which is stated in the email numerous times. This email has been looked at by numerous people, read it, we've read the whole thing, we've had conversations, we've talked about it. Lawyers, friends of mine that are in camps that are lawyers, doctors, all kinds of people. None of them came up with this characterization, absolutely none. Out of 2,000, I tracked it down because I had to do my research. Mr. Randall McClure, and I have no issue with him. I said, thank you for your opinion. Here's your refund immediately. I found out later, based on some other documents that came up, that his wife called Ms. Carrie Scans. Now, I find that ironic that the only, out of that email, and I did get people who expressed their support and appreciation, how can I help, or didn't know about it. The irony of this whole thing is that the only persons that contacted Carrie was Mr. Scott Morgan and Juliana McClure, based on what I've been able to obtain. Okay, so as I continue. So why am I here? For the rights of children, for the freedom of speech, democracy in general, and adults showing greater harmony as a basically something for the kids. I brought this up to Mr. Morgan as well. Hey, let's have the parents look at it. Let's let them make a decision. I believe that undue duress was placed on Mr. Morgan by Mr. Randall McClure to take action. And then Mr. Morgan, which I wrote in some other things, I had to fight for this appeal. I had to fight to even know I had it. I had to make some calls. I had to go to the county clerk's office, or at least make some emails and stuff like that. And eventually it went to the district attorney. So now I feel like, you know, it's like from a basketball perspective, it's like 5-on-1, and it's unjust. So back to my point. Why am I here? For the rights of children, freedom of speech, democracy in general, and adults showing greater harmony. As regard to the email, because that's kind of the elephant in the room, yeah, it's a long-winded email. I agree. And it's written in various, shall we say, themes. There's an activist theme to it. There's a little bit of an essay theme to it. There's an expose theme to it. But the one thing that's constant is the truthful theme. And truth, bad or good, it is what it is. And look, I don't look great in this either. I don't look great in all the documents you've seen. I don't. But I'm actually a good guy. Okay, and I'm fighting for the rights of kids and children, and even the woman who I've talked to, and her sister just the other day. Okay, so that's what I'm about. This is the list of campers here. List, and I've got other pages, and pages. And I have to make a decision how I'm going to deal with this situation. I've got some evolution of that freedom of speech. What have I violated? As regards to me in every camp, again, my mouth is dry, so it's hard to talk. This is what I say. Yes, there's a commercial aspect to this opportunity, fair enough. But I can tell you the truth. I can stay home, be in Las Vegas, in my award-winning tree business, which is Angie's List Super Service 2021 award, make more money than coming to do this camp. I'm almost losing money at this stage because I have coaches that come in. They fly in. I've got all kinds of things. I'm giving discounts to people. I worked for 16 years at about $22 an hour. $22 an hour for 16 years. And that crazy cult thing I mentioned in my, my email, okay? I've donated over $500,000, okay? And I continue to scholarship people all the time. I know Mr. Tarkanian might know that. I even worked with his daughter years ago, briefly, okay? And I've had no incident in that facility as well. So, fair enough. I just feel that this could have been much easier to handle. Why are we even at this stage? Because, Mr. Morgan, you could have just approached me and said, hey, let's have a meeting of this. Hey, let's bring in 25 parents. All right, fair enough. Let's look at this email. I mean, the crazy thing, I literally arrived here and 2 sheriff's deputies come to me and are saying something to me, and that's not who I am. I listen to 40s Junction music. I meditate. I take walks. I handle a lot of people. Yes, the words were forceful, true, not calling for any level of violence. And that's the entire point of this whole thing, a mischaracterization of the actual purpose and intention of it. And for right now, I think that's all I have to say to start with. But I will say there's a lot of people here in this town, or right up the way in South Tahoe, are waiting for this camp and are looking forward to it. And I am too, despite the challenges of this. So I appreciate you listening. I will say one last thing. This is what I use as what I call an incantation or something I will say to myself for camps. I have created and I am creating many incredibly inspirational, educational, enjoyable, and financially or otherwise profitable and valuable basketball and/or instructional camps, clinics, training sessions, and transformative life experiences that absolutely inspire others to reach their next level while seamlessly making an immediate or sometimes latent, which is often the case, positive impact of the lives of others, of all those I lead, work, play, compete, or otherwise come in contact with, and I sign it. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm okay with any and every decision that happens. I'll figure out something to service the kids and people in the community, but I hope it's not in spite of Mr. Morgan. or the county. I hope it's in concert with. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Llewellyn. Please hang on there
Yes,
because
sir.
Commissioner Tarkanian, do you have any questions of Mr. Llewellyn?
Yes, I do. First of all, I'd like to make a statement. I spoke with my current property manager at TBA, and he raved about the work Mr. Llewellyn does with the young kids. Spoke how good his character is. I also spoke with Ennis Wesley, who used to, well, I didn't speak with Ennis, but I know Ennis, and I saw his recommendation letter or his letter on behalf of the character, Mr. Llewellyn, and it was very positive too. I know many of the people that was in Mr. Llewellyn's pamphlet, where they gave recommendations about his character, and they're very strong. I mean, he hits a who's who in the youth basketball league. I have not seen anything that he would do that would endanger a kid from the dealings that he's had at TBA. I'm not sure that his letter shows an indication. I don't believe it shows an indication that there would be any harm done to any of the kids at the Kell Center either. But the bigger problem I see in this, Mr. Llewellyn, is, again, I think I would be upset too if people attacked my character and said I was a dude to kids after you put in decades and decades of service to young kids at a very low fit to yourself, because I understand there's very little money being made when you do these things. But I guess the bigger question I have for you is, why would you send that letter to parents and kids that are only going to a basketball camp when it dealt only with you and your ex-girlfriend, for lack of a better word? Mm-hmm. It was a private matter, and you're bringing this into an area, the basketball camp, which is your business matter. And this isn't a private gym that we're talking about. This is a public gym. The county commission has a responsibility to be aligned for people to use a facility who they're aligned with, and they can't. You have a right to say things you want to say, but you don't have a right to then use our facility. And I guess I want to know, why would you bring this into the mix of it? Because I think that's the crux of the problem.
Absolutely. So I looked at that, and as I said, it was one of the topics of the day that had been going on with the whole...
Can you please speak into the microphone?
Yes, it was one of the topics of the day that had been going on with the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp case, and it was particularly on, in this case, the female side, where there was an abuse component. For a number of years, a number of parents and people who I've worked with or even stayed at their houses, visited, had conversations, knew about this issue. Certainly not everybody on that list, but certainly some locally as well. And I felt in alignment with the fact that they knew this challenge had been going on for years, and the situation with my son and this issue with Carrie in this case, that this is a medium in alignment with my freedom of speech and the constitutional protections and all of that, that I decided to send. Now, I knew, because I wrote in there a particular line, I remember saying, okay, well, this may put me at risk here by stating these things, just as great activists of the day and people that speak out against injustice sometimes come across. And so that was a foreshadowing of thinking, maybe there would be an issue. And here I go. I have one parent out of thousands that made a comment about it enough to where this is where we are, but that was a total mischaracterization of the actual content of the email. Now, in terms of looking at it in retrospect, I throw in a sense of humor here, but maybe I wouldn't have sent it to Mr. McClure. But everyone else, no one else has voiced any issues. In fact, support, that's all I've been getting is support. And so, like I said, in retrospect, maybe one individual that received it that had a problem with it, I wouldn't have.
Can I interject with you on that?
Yes, sir.
You keep saying the one individual. To me, it's not a matter of one individual complaint. It's a matter of the contents of an email being sent out to people in our community to utilize a facility in our community. Sure. I wouldn't have liked the email if nobody complained. I don't think it was appropriate to send out to people, our constituents, dealing with a personal matter. Now, you mentioned, I think, because it's hard for me to hear everything, I think you mentioned that some people you live with and have closer relationships with, that was the case, and maybe you should have just sent to the people that you have friendships with. But when you send it out to everybody, on a list that you generated because of the use of the facility, you now got the county involved into it, like we are sanctioning this type of involvement. And when you say you have freedom of speech right, you don't have a blanket freedom of speech. Nobody does. There's restrictions on what you can and can't say, and under the Constitution, and there are restrictions, and where you can say certain things. Other places like the county commission can then say they don't want to be involved in that situation. And I, for one, don't want to be involved in a dispute over custody as a county commissioner representing Douglas County. It has nothing to do with our work or the people in our work. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I understand what you're saying, and I agree that in some ways there is the email and rethinking. I wouldn't have sent it to everybody, and it would have been different. But you know, I've now in the county situation where you have the control of the use of the facility. So here we are. But that's why I'm here. If it was a problem earlier, I would not even have been here, other than the prior issues mentioned, which is fighting for the rights of children, freedom of speech in general, and a greater harmony amongst adults and democracy. That's the only reason I made this trip. Otherwise, I would have just found another location and done something different and learned from the experience and not gone through all of the time and financial, expense that I am going through on this. So thank you.
I don't have any more questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Tarkanian. Commissioner Noasad, do you have any questions? Okay, Commissioner Ingalls.
You're getting into a realm that is really beyond the jurisdiction of this board. You're talking about constitutional rights and legal matters. Mr. Morgan has a fiduciary responsibility to the county. He has to protect the interests of the county. He has to do what he thinks is right. You think you're doing what is right. And we're getting into a situation where, well, where's the third party for cross-examination? We are not prepared to do that. So under the current circumstances, with the information that we've got, I am going to stand by Mr. Morgan. And it's just beyond our jurisdiction and our ability as members of the Board of County Commissioners. We're not a court of law, and this is getting into a legal area. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ingalls. Commissioner Rice.
To be quite frank with you, sir, when I read the email and I read it, I was disgusted. How dare you come into our community and expose your personal problems to the children of our community? These are kids that have no need to be exposed to this type of a situation. And for you to send an email out to the parents as well as the children, I find disgusting. I think it shows a serious lack of judgment on your part, and I concur. I believe that the proper decision was made, and I'm not about to reverse it.
So I would indicate that whenever we have, as a board, have to address these types of issues, they're always very unpleasant for us. And it puts us in an extremely awkward position, trying to weigh the differences between your personal interests and the interests of the county. So I am extremely disappointed that this has risen to even come to us, because once again, it puts us in a difficult position. I think your behavior shows a lack of judgment, certainly bad judgment at that particular time. And I don't know what was percolating through your mind when you took that opportunity. So I won't try to judge that, but I concur that Mr. Morgan has a fiduciary responsibility to protect the assets of our county, and has been a long-time employee of ours and has done an exemplary job as our community services manager. And so I think he has to look out. That's his responsibility, is to look out for our community and our community facilities. Anyways, this is an actionable item, so I don't have any questions for you, Mr. Llewellyn, but we do have to go to public comment, so I would at this time ask if there's any public comment here in chambers in regards to this issue, item number 3 on our agenda. It doesn't appear that we have anybody rushing to the microphone, so I'll ask.
May I say something when you're done, sir?
Absolutely, sure.
All right. So it wasn't sent to children, for one. And I do agree on the idea that this is kind of above jurisdiction on some cases. I believe that's why the character references and all the other things that have been provided came into play. And I think it's unfortunate, because now, if you're really doing true justice, now we have all these parents, which I'm figuring something out on in terms of another facility, who, what am I saying? Okay, violated freedom of speech. Here's the email that I wrote, and this is why we're not using the camp. What is actually happening is you're basically stating that there's this threat that exists that doesn't exist, and that's preventing me from using the facility because I wrote something that you didn't think was good judgment, and I don't disagree with those opinions. But I think the higher level decision maybe can't be made here, and I'm just going to reiterate what I said originally, which is, why am I here? For freedom of speech, rights of children, and democracy in general, and showing harmony. And I will also mention, biblical quotes about, if you live in a, don't throw rocks if you live in a glass house. I don't know what the quote is, but, they're all different issues. And I'm disappointed that it got to this level. I don't think it should have at all. And I think there's one parent out of a couple thousand that voiced this opinion in such a way as to stir things up more than they actually should have been. And that's unfortunate. So I don't know what else I can say other than there's been a wealth of information provided, and everything I've stated here is what I've stated. And I respectfully hear your decision. I said when I came here that whatever came down, it did. And then if I felt like I felt after this that this is a matter for activism and writing up something about the experience of what happened here, then I will, because I think that the bigger rights that I have been violated. And that's really how I feel about it, even though in this immediate facility, maybe that's the current state of affairs. So thank you.
So, Mr. Llewellyn, we're in public comment, but I would indicate that I don't believe that we would be here today, and I don't believe there would be an issue if you had not sent out that personal email. Okay? And that's what this decision was, as I understand it, hinged on by Mr. Morgan, and that's something that we have to take into account as a board. So, once again, we would not be here, I don't believe, if that had not occurred. That's the problem. So I will, we've had public comment here in chambers. Do we have any public comment on line, Ms. Elgis?
Melissa Elgis, for the record, there is no public comment online on item number 3.
Very good, then we'll bring it back to the board. Any additional comments or questions by the board? Sensing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
I move that we deny the appeal as required by Douglas County Code 13.04.100, that the appeal be denied for the reason of lack of judgment.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Rice, seconded by Commissioner Noah Sad to deny the appeal filed by Mr. Gil Llewellyn of Game Time Basketball Camps pursuant to Douglas County Code Section 13.04.100 of the denial of a permit to use the Kale Community Center to conduct a children's basketball camp on July 25th through the 28th, 2022, as issued by the Douglas County Community Services and Parks and Recreations Director, Mr. Scott Morgan. Since control of the Board of Commissioners or those agenda items where public comment has not already been taken, is there any public comment here in chambers? Please approach the, yep.
Ted Gaines. I got some paperwork I want to put on record here. It was an email I picked up between county employees saying people don't leave bad jobs. They leave because of bad bosses and poor county management. And that's what we have in this county. This came from county employees, retired ones, and ones working here. I made you a copy. Mr. Gardner, the last time I was talking to Mr. Ingalls, made a comment to me, we got to follow the NRS. So I made you a copy of the Blue Book. The people that made up the Blue Book, all the state agencies and the contractors boards and everything else, all the items that state and NRS that they're not supposed to hand permits out to individuals that don't have licenses, which I brought in the papers and showed you the papers where Mr. Davis handed it, come put on the agenda to vote on having all the inspectors completely certified. Not this generic thing. I also got papers in here from the ICC that says they can't use Tim Davis's certification. It's illegal. Okay? I got pictures here again that I gave you before where Tim Davis did an inspection on the foundation with no steel in it, no verticals, whatnot, and behind that, there's paperwork here because people were questioning me with Tim Davis's signature on that paperwork. I also want to put on file, because it became a question and people questioning Mr. Ingalls on what he said he did and didn't do. We did stop the convention center. We got it on the ballot. There was, the convention center gets $1.2 million every year in June from Douglas County taxpayers. It's a record. They just got another one. They get $35 million of our money, thanks to Wesley Rice, Larry, and Barry, through 1946. The paperwork here shows it. People have been questioning. I'll put this in the paper so that people can read it so they understand what they're paying for up there. The other people have claimed, well, we're going to make between $700,000 and $1.2 million a year. Well, they're still falling $1,200,000 short thanks to 3 commissioners. Now, they were very specific of how they put the wording in so it would go to vote to the public so they could pass this on the next item. And that will all be brought in here and put on in the newspaper for public records. Our legal department needs to look into the Browns Act because obviously this was talked about. This was a setup. And the Browns Act is very specific with that.
So, Mr. Gaines, I would invite you to set up a meeting with Deputy District Attorney Doug Ritchie, Patrick Cates, and myself in the next couple of weeks to discuss these items if you would be so interested.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to see how all the commissioners feel about passing that. Protect the people of Douglas County, the citizens. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jim Elsmore, and I'm a Douglas County property owner here. I just wanted to be in support of the fire sprinkler change. I'm also a builder. I've been here for a long time. I kind of escaped Washoe County and now I'm down here, and I was kind of surprised that the regulations were more stringent than up north. I've had situations where people have actually decided to shrink their home or do whatever they need to do to be able to get that to pass. But as another positive change that's already been discussed earlier is that the building department has had a big overload waiting for the fire department to be able to get to process all these new homes. And now by clearing this out, the other effect will be is that we'll be able to get building permits faster in Douglas County. So I think it'll help the area a lot. Rather than somebody jumping, just go to Carson and you don't have to deal with that. We don't want that. We want that to be an even playing field. But I appreciate hearing me out, and I appreciate the move that's already been made, set forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional public comments here in chambers? Sensing none, Ms. Algis, is there public comment online?
We do have one online public comment for our closing public comment. Mr. Gibson, are you there?
Here. Thank you, Jason Garrett Gibson, with the Foundation for the Law of Time. The National Association of Counties. This is like serious business, serious fun. 2022 annual conference and exposition in Adams County, Colorado, July 21st through the 24th. Let's make sure our commissioners go in style. Let's get a hold of Ms. Thompson, and perhaps Mr. Cates can get involved in making sure that commissioners go with all the support they deserve. Perhaps a photographer, somebody with some journalism skills, media development skills. Let's send them in a private jet Lear airplane with a wet bar, shall we? Let's go in style. See here that the national conference, the annual conference, and this is a big one because of what's happening at large in our war economy today. It says here that the NACO annual conference is the largest meeting of county elected and appointed officials from across the country. Participants from counties of all sizes come together to shape NACO's federal policy agenda, share proven practices, strengthen knowledge networks, improve residents' lives, and the efficiency of county government. Some of the topics, just a few of these topics, the crucial topics: agriculture, arts and culture, behavioral health, broadband communications, coronavirus, elections, immigration, there's a whole list of topics. Advocacy platform, resources. I think Brendan in IT, my neighbor who's listening in, could create a link from Douglas County website to this website. And I see 5 sharp-dressed men on our website in Douglas County with no professional background or bio by which to appreciate the leadership that's being represented here in Douglas County. So if you could populate your bios, gentlemen, before taking liftoff, maybe activate that Facebook account, keep us up to speed with your experience. We'd like to, we're always just scratching the surface here at these meetings. It's always just the tip of the iceberg. What's going on underneath all of that is what really matters. We need to appreciate that. So I'm just putting that out there. I hope you guys go in style, have a meaningful experience, and thanks for your ear.
Ms. Algis, is there any additional public comment online?
Chairman Gardner,
Yes, Commissioner.
I would like to make a quick statement.
Okay.
For the residents of the Lake Tahoe Basin, Chairman Gardner and myself will have it at 5 p.m. at Casey's. If you want to come and ask us questions, we look forward to answering to you. And have a good weekend.
Thank you. And you're still on vacation, is that right?
Yes.
Jackson. Yeah. Okay. So with that, we've covered all of our agenda items today, had public comment. So at this time, I will adjourn the July 20th, 2022 Board of County Commissioners meeting. Thank you.